Tell us when and where you were born.
I was born in the hospital in Stewart, Florida, but we was living in Fruita.
Say that again?
Fruita. We was living in Fruita, but I was born at the hospital in Martin Memorial.
Okay. And is that where your family lived at the time?
Right.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your family background. Earlier you mentioned that your dad came here because of someone else.
No, my grandfather came here because a man named Mr. Jack Powell.
Uh-huh.
And then he went back to Alachaway, Florida, and moved his family down, which was my mother and her sisters and brothers, and her mother. Yeah.
Do you know what year that is?
Yeah, that was about 1918.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they, Mr. Powell got them established down here, and down here in Gomez. And then while they was living here, my mother went to school on the curb down here, which was the, at the time, it's New Allen Temple Church. And her and some more people. I knew one, but I can't remember all. And then my father came from the Bahamas. He was born in 1896, and he came to Florida in 1912 as a sugarcane cutter in the glades out here. And a bunch of millers came over, and they migrated to Deerfield and all the way to Jensen Beach.
Right.
In Fort Pierce, and that's where my mother and father met, right here. And they got married when she was born in 04. She got married maybe in 1921, I believe. And my oldest sister was born in 1925. My next sister was 27, my brother 29, and myself 31. There was 4 of us.
So there's 4 children.
So by my father losing his property down here in Gomez, they moved to Fruita before I was born. So that should have been around 1930 or 29, because the other 3 was born down here. And after I was about 8 or 9 years old, my mother and father separated, and the property ran into the waterway, and the tax was high, and it never was completely landscape. But we was farming. We had some of everything down there to eat, and
Tell us.
so was something to sell too. You know, we used to ship to New York on the train.
Tell us where Fruita was. What would it be now?
It's just Hope Sound now. Yeah, Hope Sound goes, I guess, all the way up to the VFW, I believe, before the Postal Learner. Yeah, it's between here and the VFW, where the railroad track cross. You know, it's still a marking there where they took that crossing up. Yeah.
And did you know your grandparents?
I knew my grandmother. She died. She died in 1968. When my grandfather died in 1933. I was only 2 years old, but it seemed like I could remember from hearsay or something. But I was only 2 when he passed.
What was her name, your grandmother?
Oh, my grandmother died at 1968. She lived a long time. She was Emma White.
Okay. Are there any other relatives that were in the area, like aunts and uncles? You talked about your brothers and sisters, who were important to you as a child?
Yeah, well, my brother had a brother lived in Fruita also. His name was Lincoln Miller. And then later on, he sold 5 acres, or our 11 acres, to Alec Miller. And then we had a cousin named Turner Miller, and that lived down in, it was only 5 houses down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you describe what the house was like that you grew up in?
Well, it was a wood frame house, and my daddy them built the house. It was like 3 bedrooms, or outside toilet and stuff, and well pumped. And we had an irrigation ditch that ran to the waterway, the river. We used to run fish up in there and block them off, mullets and stuff. Used to sell them. We didn't eat the mullets, but we ate fish.
So you had your own little fish canal.
Yeah. Well, we would go around there and chase the fish in the ditch, and then you can run them on up to the house, Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't have refrigeration or electricity or nothing like that.
So the house didn't have electricity.
No.
Okay. You mentioned that you remember your grandfather, even though you were only 2. What are your earliest memories?
No, I said see him like I do, but I guess maybe from hearing people talk about him, I don't know. But I can sort of visualize him, but I don't know how much a person can remember when they're 2 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some of your earliest memories? Playing around in the neighborhood or on the farm itself?
Oh yeah, well we learned how to work when we was young because they was farming, and we always had something to do, help in, and we used to have chickens, and we used to catch these what they call gophers and sell them and all that stuff. Everything it took to survive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about the community itself. Describe Hobe Sound. What was it like when you grew up?
You mean after we left from Fruita, right?
Right.
Oh, well, see, we used to walk from Fruita down to Gomez and go to school in the New Mount Zion Church. My mother went to New Allen Temple, and we didn't have no bus or anything for African Americans. And because when the wet days, the bus would pass us, but they wouldn't pick us up because we was black,
Yeah.
And the driver, he felt bad about it because 1 or 2 times he picked us up anyway, but he'd have lost his job if he'd have seen us walking, because it's like a good 4.5 miles,
Yeah.
But we used to come down there to church and come down there to school. We used to walk back and forward, Yeah.
And who was the teacher?
Well, we had several teachers. Back then, they teach with a 12th grade education. One name was Richardson. Richardson's some kid in Africa.
So you went to school in a church?
Yeah, until I was in the 5th grade. And then we got a 1-bedroom school for my 6th year. And then in my 7th year, I went to Stewart, which is STS.
Right.
Yeah.
Stewart Training School.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the other people who lived in your neighborhood. Maybe some of the other kids that lived there, some of the adults.
Yeah, well, we had the Haslam family, which you were supposed to was supposed to be here, and the Queens, and the Millers, the Dennis, and then Rogers, Washingtons.
So it was a big neighborhood.
Well, no, it was more down then than it is now, really, because see, all the way down that street with the school on First Street, all that was black people down there. They farmed that from Bridge Road all the way back down, Yeah.
And do you remember any games that you played with the kids or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we used to play stickball. We didn't have too much to play with. We would make our own wagons and all that stuff. Yeah, we would get us some wheels and make wagons and stuff. We played.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
You mentioned where you went to school. Did you go to church?
Yes, we walked from down there to church up to Gomez, yeah.
Okay. And what was the church that you went to?
New Mount Zion.
Okay. And that was on Gomez?
That was right there off A1A,
Okay.
right across the railroad track. And
Okay.
that's where I went to school for the first 5 years.
In that church?
Right.
Okay. What do you remember most about school, especially in the church?
Well, I remember that they had six row of seats, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So
Grades.
one teacher had to teach each one of the, and I never will figure out how my brother ended up with a doctorate degree with the school we had, because the teacher had to teach the first, second, teach
Right,
all
every
us
grade.
in a run of a day, and we learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned.
And your brother ended up with a doctoral degree.
Yes, he did.
That's pretty good for being in a one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah, he was 2 years older than me. Yeah.
Cool. When you were that age, did you know what you wanted to be, or did you have any dreams about being something?
Well, I always was working on something with my hands, like mechanics or saw or hammer and stuff like that. So I knew I went to Florida A&M to take mechanical engineering, and I used to work on automobiles, and then for a year things was getting a little tough, and that's when I left there and went to the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year did you go into the Air Force?
February 1952.
And how old were you then?
20.
Okay. So 1952. Was that during the Korean War or
Right.
just after? It was during the Korean War.
Yeah, I did 2 enlistments. I got out in 56 for about 11 months, and I went back in and did 4 more years. And then I went to the reserve down here to West Palm Beach, and that's where they retired me. The reserve gave me a retirement.
And so you were in until what year?
I got out the last time in 61.
And then you were,
When I retired from the Air Force,
Yeah.
I went to America in 63.
okay.
Yeah.
As you got older, were most of your friends still around here, or did you have new friends, or who were your friends as you got older?
Well,
And did you come back here after the Air Force?
yes, but all the family that I called, all us guys went to the Korean War. The Queens, the Haslams, and the Millers, we all
All
went.
the guys in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we all of the guys grew up with me went, maybe one. The Petway boy didn't go. But the rest of us, the Queens, Haslams, Millers, all of us went to the military. Yeah.
What was your first job after the Air Force when you came home?
I took a job chauffeur butler.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I did some tree surgeon, I guess. And then I went to Pratt & Whitney for a while.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I worked at Pratt & Whitney for a while. Then I was in business for myself for a while. Then I went to barbering school and cut hair for a while. And then I retired from a hotel as a bell captain.
You had quite a career.
Yeah, I just bounced around and found some way to be able to retire anyway.
That's good. Talk about your current family. Talk about, are you married, children, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I have 3 children, 61, 57, and 58. And
Wait, your children are 61,
Yeah.
57, and 58?
yeah,
You don't look much more than 70.
oh, 87 is a better guess. Well, 87 next month, November. No, I can't get to 87 yet.
Okay. Are you still active in the church?
Oh yes, I usher in church,
And where do you go to church now?
First Baptist.
Okay. Did you or any members of your family, or did you know people who attended the Allen Temple AME church?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Do you remember anything about those families or events that you might have gone to at that church?
Uh, well, we used to. I was a usher at New Mount Zion, and when they needed help, we'd come over and help them usher like a large funeral or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then we go there for revival meetings and stuff like that. It's just like the churches stayed in contact with one another. Or I forgot the word for it, but they would meet, the pastor and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Well,
So they were all close, the
right.
churches.
At one time, I knew everybody in Hope Sound. But the last 20 years, things changed. I knew every family. I knew who children it was and everything. But now it's different. I don't know.
It's harder.
Yeah, more people come and left than ever has before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you know any of the leaders of the churches? Can you talk about them? Any of the pastors or?
Not really, no more than my own pastor.
Okay. Okay. Do you remember going into the AME church?
Yes.
Okay. And could you, and we're trying to get information about that church as well. Do you remember what it looked like inside, maybe how large it was, or?
Oh, you're talking about the first church, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we used to go to church there. Reverend Lewis was the pastor when I was a kid. Yeah. I thought you was talking about the A&M church now.
No, the old one.
Okay, now, okay. Yeah, Reverend, when we used to go there when Reverend Lewis was the pastor. And he lived right here. I don't know whether he got any family left or not, but most of them died out. And yeah, we used to have walk down there to church. Yeah.
And what it looked like inside?
Well, it just was a wooden frame church with a wooden floor, and it had benches made out of lumber.
So it was benches?
Hardwood benches, right?
Not necessarily pews, but benches.
Right. Just boards, yeah, made out of boards, right.
And was it big?
Well, it was. Well, there are people that couldn't sit down and stand up.
Okay, standing room only.
Yeah, it all depends on what was going on, Yeah. Yeah.
Did the church have more than one room?
One room?
Yeah, did it have just one room, or did it have other rooms?
Just one room.
That was it. It wasn't
Right.
like a parish house or
Right.
anything like that. And was it very close to the railroad track?
Yeah, it was. It was maybe 60 feet, maybe close to 100, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, the cemetery was right behind there. See.
That was my next question.
Oh.
Do you have any family members who are buried in the
My
cemetery?
father was there, but we had to move over to this cemetery. But I know lots of people down there. And back then, when I was a kid or in the Boy Scouts, I guess they didn't have to embalm people because they was making wooden caskets, and we would walk from down the Petway area down to this curve and go across the railroad track and to the burials, and put the body on a truck, a pickup truck. Yeah, right behind that church there,
So you could watch the burials.
We would take part, we was little fellows, but we got big enough to help direct traffic and stuff, which wasn't that much.
And was that particular church and the land around it and behind it, was that kind of a gathering place?
Well, it was, during that time, it was more than one church. I mean, see, people was members of this church right up here, the one over here, before that church was built, was I think this church up here was the oldest church around here. And Gomez always had his own church up there,
Yeah.
where I went to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the curve had to be old because my mother went to school in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the church burning down?
I don't know. I don't think I was here then.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I was here.
Okay. Just a couple more questions, okay?
All right.
As you grew up, did you know people who lived through the Depression and World War II? And did you, like, did your dad serve or anybody you knew serve?
Yeah.
And you were born right after the Depression, or during the Depression, really.
Yeah, during the
right after
Depression,
1929.
Yeah.
So I guess you knew one person during the Depression, you.
Yeah, I knew, just like I say, we knew everybody around here, every
Right.
family. And we had lots of people to go to Second World War from here.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, and some wasn't even 18.
Is
And,
that right?
Yeah. And I don't think we lost anybody. They all survived and came back. Yeah. I know my stepfather, cousins, and all that stuff, they went.
So there are a lot of guys from your neighborhood that went
Right.
World War II.
Yeah.
You were in Korea, so you were a little too old for Vietnam. But did you know younger men who went to Vietnam from the Hope Sound area?
You said I was too old for Vietnam?
Yeah, were you?
No, my buddies, all my buddies served in Vietnam that did 20 years. See, I didn't do but 8
Oh,
plus
sure,
the
after-
reserve.
right.
Yeah, because I had a whole lot of buddies that retired, and one buddy stayed in 38 years. He's an
Wow.
engineer, yeah. But I wasn't in the service when the war broke out. It was coming, but I got stuck out because I got called on active duty and got sick, and that's when the reserve retired me right here in Opelika when doing the Cuban airlift.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but one Sunday I got called on active duty because I knew how to park airplanes and refuel them, and I smelled so much of jet fuel and 145 octane until I got sick because I was on an empty stomach, and I had a history of ulcers, and that's how I got my retirement.
Okay.
Yeah. Which wasn't much because the VA gave me the retirement. See, I wanted to stay in and get the whole thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this isn't in the questions, but I'm just curious. So you were here during the Cuban Missile Crisis as well.
Yeah, that's when I got called on active duty.
You had to go back onto active duty for the Cuban Missile.
Yeah, I was on active duty 3 times in those 2 years. Yeah.
Was that scary?
No, I liked it. A lot crazy about it. I liked that. I was up to Patrick for 2 weeks. So I enjoyed every minute of it. One time I didn't have a job, and I told the commander I wanted to go on active duty because I'd make a paycheck.
That was good.
So he sent me on for 2 weeks until I found me a job, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind one bit. I enjoyed being in the military.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you, or maybe any of your friends or your family members, did you participate in any of the movements during the 50s, 60s, or 70s, like the Civil Rights Movement?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you were
But
too
I'm
busy
trying to think of
fixing
it.
planes.
Let's see. I I can't think of anyone because my brother was in the service and I was too in the 50s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
During your time as an adult, did you experience any discrimination or anything like that?
Yeah, truthfully speaking, this was a pretty good place to live because we didn't have any problems. The only thing that discriminating was like the bus and stuff like that. You couldn't ride on it, but other than that, it wasn't that bad comparing to some other places. Yeah.
But you went to school before they desegregated the schools, right?
Right.
You went to the Stewart Training School, which is the black school.
Right.
Okay. Last question for you. How would you say Hope Sound, and maybe the world, has changed over the time that you've been here in Hope Sound?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say I would have rather for it to be like it used to be because I was coming home on leave when I was in the service and I passed my turn off to go home. And I said, gosh, I don't like the way it built up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like for it to be smaller than like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you could know everybody.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Okay. Douglas, it's been really nice talking to you.
Yeah.